All right.
Better hit some Netflix. You watched some Motu, didn't you?
Motu. I got Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah.
8-Bit Christmas.
That was HBO.
Yeah, that was
right?
HBO.
Yeah, I watched some stuff on there.
Okay.
There were 2 more of those music box things.
Yeah. I saw the DMX one was out. What was the other one?
Kenny G, son.
Are you serious? Oh my God.
Hey, I'm not watching Kenny G.
No.
It was interesting.
No.
I think I saw one clip and he was like being sassy, and I was like, the last thing so I need is a sassy, brassy Kenny G.
It's. Well, I'll talk about it, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on a second.
I guess I'll listen.
I'm not going to waste my opinions.
I may say sassy, brassy again.
That'll be the final.
You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hey, welcome back to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Good to see you. My name's Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. It's Christmas, guys.
Woo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got a gift in my mailbox.
Oh, what's
Jury summons.
Ugh.
I was on the list for 2022 for the first time in a long time. I hadn't got called for a long time.
You were
so
on
you're going to be next year's your year.
So I sent back the little postcard, and it's like, if you have a valid reason, you must come to the courthouse between the hours of there are 2 days to come between this hour and this hour. And today was my day to go in and try to get out of jury duty, basically.
Right.
Which I wouldn't mind doing. I've never done it. I think it would be an interesting experience.
Oh man, I had a 12 Angry Men such.
Yeah.
It was a very neat experience to be on a jury and be the one guy did not agree with what they were saying. And I turned them.
That's
I stabbed that knife down.
Every good sitcom has had that episode.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true. That's true. That is a very, very commonly used trope in sitcoms.
Yeah. I want to live a sitcom too.
I love a trope, so I got that guy off.
Yeah. I think the Fonz did that, didn't he?
He did. Oh, yeah.
Other jacket and tie.
Yeah.
How he and Mr. C were on the jury at the same time. Oh, that's another thing that happened this week. A customer came in. I'm going to tangent my tangent. Yeah. A customer came in, and I don't know how we got to talk about this. But he said something about Fonzie is a Jedi, was how this conversation dovetailed into. And then he started picking like, well, who would all the other Happy Days characters be? So, okay, well, Luke, that would be Richie. Oh, his sister Joni. Okay, that's Princess Leia. And he started like picking, and like my brain, I'm like, I cannot let this guy know how much I know about Happy Days.
Yes, you can.
Like the most the nerdiest, dumbest conversation, and I'm like remembering all about this. I'm remembering really obscure characters, and I'm like,
Sticks.
No. I was like, we're not getting into Roger territory and all this stuff. Like,
oh yeah,
so,
yeah.
I was like, this was the only time my Happy Days knowledge would have been useful. I'm like, I can't do it. I can't blow this guy's mind with how much I know about Happy Days.
Well,
I thought that was gonna be a fail, but that story,
we can play this
you really
game.
burnt down. You really burnt down Pops with that story. Came back around.
Hey.
No one will get that reference. No one.
But anyway, so I had to go this morning to the courthouse. So I'm driving to work. I'm like, I could go. I was like, I'll just go to work and walk. It's not that far. It's like, it's a couple of blocks. I forgot how out of shape I am and how I haven't walked anywhere in 2 years, probably.
The courthouse, you can see the courthouse from
No, the other courthouse, the big courthouse.
Yeah, not the.
It's still only 2 blocks, but I walk the 2 blocks, run up the stairs.
Well, running up the stairs.
Well, so I get there. I'm like, I'm sucking wind already.
Yeah.
There's no one ahead of me. There's like a sign-up sheet that has no names on it, and the woman, like the jury commissioner lady, has her head sticking out the door. And as I'm walking up, she's like, "Oh, come ahead in." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm coming." Like,
I'm gonna need a minute.
So like, yes. So it's like, I have to explain myself.
They probably took one later. They were like, "Okay, we know why you can't come."
I'm a sole proprietor. I don't have any employees, and I work 6 days a week.
Did he just walk here? Did he walk here?
I don't have a car, man. I'm sorry. So yeah, the whole thing was so fat. She just basically said, "Okay," and wrote my name down and got me off the list. So I hadn't caught. The whole thing was over before I even caught my breath. So
you were probably the only one that actually showed up to protest your involvement. So
boy, did she feel got when she looked out the window and saw you jump 11 barrels and slide into the chicken hut.
All right, we should just sign off now. It's not getting
This is a fun show. Oh. Anyway,
so I'm not gonna serve a jury this year. I'm gonna stay home and I'm gonna watch movies.
Ooh.
Save Martha! Puny God.
I'm just a kid from Brooklyn. I'm Batman.
Kneel before Zod! On the roof!
Said it yourself, bitch. We're the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So what's it gonna be, huh? Long sullen silence? Or mean comment? Go on.
You got me in a box here.
We all watched the same movie. We all were in the mood.
For once.
It was like, it was probably that post-Thanksgiving vibe there. I think we watched this on Thanksgiving. Anyway, it was the new HBO movie. What's it called?
8-Bit Christmas.
8-Bit Christmas. Oh, yeah, that's right. 8-Bit Christmas.
Every kid has that one gift they want more than anything for Christmas. This is the story of mine.
Bookends? They have baseballs on them. I see that.
No, not those. Nintendo. A maze of rubber wiring and electronic intelligence so advanced it was deemed not a video game, but an 8-bit entertainment system.
No Nintendo in my house.
I second that.
Looks like a no-go on Nintendo.
I needed a Christmas miracle. The year was 1987, or was it 88? Super Bowl was in 86.
Okay, does it really matter, Dad?
Oh, okay. The year was the late 80s. I was 11 years old.
Did you wear a helmet?
Yeah, we always wore helmets in the 80s. Me and my friends would do anything just to play one.
Any of you huddle masters want to play? What have you brought me?
I got a goldfish!
Untraceable cash money!
It's the final countdown!
One thing became clear. I needed to get my own.
This is bigger than Christmas.
I actually watched it on Monday, which is normally my day off, but I thought between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'm gonna go into the store and be open on Mondays, just in case anybody's out doing holiday shopping.
Yeah, good.
That was a mistake. There was nobody out.
Nobody there.
Nobody came. So I used the day to watch 8-Bit Christmas instead.
Oh, that's good. It's basically a Christmas story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it was. Because when the Christmas Story came out, you were going back to back when there were Red Ryder guns and stuff, and now we're going back to Nintendos.
Yes. So immediately the nostalgia was there for me because that was the year I got a Nintendo. And
I mean, well, but that's the joke.
Yeah.
Like they I loved the ambiguity, or is that a word, of what year it was, because I can't even nail down when I bought my Nintendo. Like, I bought a skateboard, and then my friend had this Nintendo appeared. I didn't even know it was the thing, and I was like, okay, I didn't open the skateboard, sent it back, got my money back, bought a Nintendo. But it's like, what year was it that we first had it? It was like 86, 87.
And when did the Power Glove didn't come out immediately? It wasn't.
Well, I don't think this. Thing, yeah, I don't think
that's stretching it a little bit.
Yeah, this movie did not follow it correctly.
What year did the was it The Wizard? The Fred Savage movie, wasn't that the introduction? That was my introduction, I think, to the Power Glove.
Well, that's late. That's Super Mario 3, so that's really far into the system.
Super Mario 3 came out in like 1988.
The Wizard's 89.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I'm just like, time that at that time, 2 years is a long friggin' time. Back then. Yeah. So. But yeah, I think it was like 87 really when people around here were getting that.
Yeah, it probably was, because I have a very distinct memory, like, of I had Atari, and I didn't know Nintendo existed until I went over. I was in like second or third grade, I think, and I went over to my friend's house for the first time, and him and his brother, they had a Nintendo. And I had no clue that existed, and did not. It was like the same as going from Atari to Nintendo. It was like virtual reality. It was just like, like, what is this? Yeah, exactly. And in fact,
those ducks look so lifelike.
This isn't Double Dribble.
I remember that. I remember Jamie and Tiffany, my cousins, got Nintendo before I did. I remember that because
that's ridiculous.
Jamie had the like the 13-inch black and white TV or whatever.
You played it on
everybody had
TV,
in their room. Yeah. I remember they got it. I'm pretty sure before I did. So I was a little. I'm pretty sure I got it that Christmas. It was a little bit later than most people had it. Probably a year later than most people had it around us.
Yeah.
So this really kind of like struck home with me. the whole idea of that year. This is when I got it. So, and just being crazy over it.
It was good enough for a Christmas movie. Wasn't bad. It was the nostalgic thing was really what it really had going for it. You know, now, just even there being a mall that was. Full of stores and things. That's that was what was nice to see.
No, there we all watched it as a family, and I was surprised how much, like, my kids, you know, they laughed out loud during several parts of the movie.
They LOL.
Yeah. and it kind of surprised me how much they enjoyed it rather than like just mom and dad really enjoyed it. I knew my wife would like it too, but yeah, they were like, yeah, this was a good Christmas movie, and that's kind of how we all felt about it. Like Neil Patrick Harris, he was fine. Steve Zahn in it was really good.
Yeah,
yeah, he's done a few HBO things here lately, but I really like him in comedy roles, and I love him in that dad role. And like at the end, there was enough, you know,
sentimentality to bring it home.
Yes.
Is that what you're going to say?
Exactly.
Yes. That kind of socked me out of nowhere. That I'm enjoying it well enough, and then like the end gets really sweet and really touching. Yeah. And I was like, "Whoa, not expecting that. I'm at work."
oh! Thank God there's no customers. I can let her fly.
Yeah. So that definitely had a really sweet ending to it. That was
yeah. So if you're of our age and you're looking for something different, something new to watch for a Christmas movie, this will work.
Yeah,
it'll get the job done.
I feel like
Christmas spirit.
We've really laid it out for our listeners this year with 8-Bit Christmas and Bebo. Like that's going to be all anybody can handle.
Yeah. Listening to you guys talk about Bebo was all I could handle.
Anything else on the HBO channels?
Oh yeah, not movies though.
Not
I watched
movies.
they dropped a King Richard film.
Oh yeah, I watched
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I watched that.
Tennis movie, of course, starring Rich Somner.
Sommer, yeah, no end, but yeah,
Somner.
Friend of show.
Yeah, friend of show. We can't say his name.
I haven't seen him in anything in a while. I forgot how to say his name.
I just listened to him on a podcast today talking about how people can't say his name. Like no one knows how to say it.
I thought he ended his podcast on that.
He was a guest on a podcast about.
Oh, okay. Board games.
No, it was about names. It was called Wide World of Dougs, and they talked to people whose name were Doug, and then they kind of branched off just talking to people about their names and what they've been called all their lives and this and that. And it's like about nothing, but it still was an interesting talk. You know? But anyway, yeah, he was in it.
Yeah, this is the Will Smith biopic about the father of Venus and Serena Williams, teaching them to be tennis stars from a very young age.
Before they were born.
He had a plan. Man had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think you'd said earlier, like it feels like it sanded off any edges there were. Like it shows him as a very hard worker and they're a real close-knit family. And okay, there may have been some problems, but I don't know. Not it couldn't have all been this sweet and agreeable.
Yeah.
For their whole lives.
Yeah, I thought it was. It was just. It felt like Will Smith did not want. He just wants to be liked in every role. So it's like anything that might have been a little sketchy about playing that guy. Which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that guy, but he was very outspoken and wanted things his way. Yeah. And I think this movie covers that his way wasn't always right, but it doesn't make him as grating as he probably was in real life when you see like real footage. And I think that's just the Will Smithing effect. So I really am surprised that there's any Oscar bait talk about this, because I did not think he did anything worthy of any awards.
No, I was kind of bored through the whole thing.
I like a sports movie, and the tennis was really good in this, and the girls were really good in this, and so that was impressive to me. And I liked John Bernthal in it, and you know, I enjoyed it. It was almost 2.5 hours long, and I still was just like, I was never in any hurry to end it. I enjoyed watching it, but I never was like, this is great.
Yeah, it's definitely that feel-good thing you want from a sports movie.
Yeah.
But I just kept thinking, I know this is true, but like I would never believe any of this if it didn't actually happen.
Right.
Like going to a celebrity, like, hey, you're going to coach my girls for free, right? I guess I am. Like, did that really happen? He just talked his way into these opportunities.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
The other HBO things I watched, there's a few more of those music box documentaries where you guys were all watching the Beatles for 700 hours. I was watching DMX and Kenny G.
Yeah, I'm not watching either of those, so feel free to spoil that sassy, brassy guy.
He's just sort of part of the musical furniture of American culture.
It's just wallpaper. With Kenny G's music, what can you say?
How are you feeling?
Underappreciated in general. I don't think there's anything wrong with hard work. That's a hard lick, and I just played it really well. Putting in the reps and then reaping the reward of, hey, I'm really good at this. I think that's why my career's lasted this long.
The fact of the matter is, Kenny G in the 1990s was one of the most well-known musicians on this planet.
Somebody asked me, what kind of music do you do? Is it jazz? I don't know. You might think it might be jazz. Well, is it pop? I don't know. You might think it might be pop.
He was having a huge impact on defining what jazz is, even though the jazz community were looking at his music with disdain.
These are songs from my heart. This is the way I just hear it. They think I've decided to play these kind of songs because I knew they would sell well. If only I was that smart.
Number 3 was called DMX Don't Try to Understand. And it was basically like the Beatles, a lot of real candid footage. He had just gotten out of jail, and he was getting ready to go on a new tour and reconnect with his family. And it was they just had somebody with a camera kind of following him around for basically a year, and it happened to be right before his death. So as we talked about in the Beatles, like you're watching this knowing he's on borrowed time. It's all going to end real soon, and watching him kind of mess things up with his family, and it's very raw. He was not paying attention to how he came across on camera. It felt very raw, but that also led to there's no real narrative to it. Like it doesn't tell a story. It's not leading anywhere. It's just a whole lot of footage, and in that way, it was probably the least interesting of these. And the number 4 episode was called "Listening to Kenny G." And I thought, do I really care? But the description kind of made me think, yeah, I am kind of interested, because it was like, how does the best-selling instrumentalist of all time, far and away, he sold more records than anyone, be so hated, so viscerally despised? You like his music, you ignore his music, or you hate his guts. And it's kind of like trying to answer that question. I was like, okay, I could be interested in that. And it was pretty interesting. Whereas he came across completely prepackaged, image conscious, like everything he did felt a little to me like when you see Tom Cruise do an interview. Like everything just felt turned up a notch to, hey, I'm having a good time here, everyone. Like it just felt kind of phony. And it had a few more, and he seemed like a really nice guy. He didn't do anything for me to have a bad opinion of him, but it had a weird edge to it of him trying very hard. And there are shots of like, okay, I'm just going to wear this shirt. Is that good, or should I put a sweater on? Would that look okay? Are you getting the right angle?
I thought he was a pirate shirt guy.
And it showed him. Well, there's a lot of fashion faux pas in this archival footage.
You're thinking of Michael Bolton, I think.
I don't know. Kenny G gets a little pirate shirty too.
Well, he made some choices in his career. Let's say. Yeah, it shows him he's visiting his high school, and they're going to film him walking in. He's like, should I carry my sax case? That'll look more realistic, right? Or that'll look better if I'm carrying my, like, he's directing it and like creating the image as he's doing it. So I don't know, that wasn't the thrust of the documentary, but
he's like, don't show that part. That's not the part you're supposed to show. They're like, shut up, Kenny G, you try hard.
There was some point in the 90s, in the mid 90s, where Kenny G was popular. I mean, yeah, I know he sold all these albums, but I remember having some sort of Kenny G CD.
No way.
I did. I swear to God, at some point I did, because every song, every track sounded exactly the same. So at some point there in the mid 90s, like he was popular enough, or I got it on like one of those. CD, Columbia record house
12
deals.
CDs for a penny.
Right, exactly.
I've only got 11. What do I put in the number 12?
This is my big chance to be a Kenny G guy.
Right.
I'm going to get in early.
I'm
an early adopter.
Get a pirate shirt.
Yeah.
These are going to be
I've already got
age.
this shirt. And the perm.
But that sort of over perfection leaches into the music, because it showed him producing, and it showed the computer, and like him, I don't like this half a second of this note, let's put this in and fix it. Like, it's very produced.
Yeah.
Whereas jazz historically is very much
hit record,
improvised.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is a feeling of what you're feeling at that moment. It's a conversation between the instruments, and it's all organic. And Kenny G is so mechanical, and that it talks to several scholars and music critics and people who know the history of jazz, who are saying jazz is an evolution. It is, everyone builds on it, and Kenny G is just his own thing. He has no connection to this past history. there's an icky amount of like cultural appropriation where he took this predominantly black art form and made millions more dollars than anyone else who's ever done it.
He saved jazz.
Right. So all these struggling musicians who can't book a gig, who are the pure musicians, are losing out on, you know, grandmas who, I love jazz. Let's get the Kenny G album. Like, so there's all these contradictions.
Get your jazz cards out.
Yeah, but he seems like a decent guy. And my opinion of him, he always, inside jokes, he always, like, he had a sense of humor about himself. I remember him doing guest spots on things and popping up in comedies, and he did a crossover with Warren G on Jimmy Kimmel. They did Kenny G and Warren G did a version of Regulators. And like he's in on the joke on things. And it was going over his Twitter account is really big. He posts really funny memes about himself, but he also has, like, you know, a social media manager who, like, we need to have 4 posts a day that do that. Like I say, just everything about him is you know, A to B to C, and that just doesn't feel like the, you know, the rock star life kind of you know, jazz guy. So I don't feel like I know anything new about Kenny G that I didn't before, but it was, I enjoyed watching it. It was fine.
Cool. Well, for doing movies, let's jump to something else.
Spooge, balls, bloody vaginal belch. I just gave you AIDS. AIDS? Dude, that's not cool. Don't give Kyle AIDS.
Hello? Stan? Kyle? You remember when we were little? Us friends said we'd always be there for each other when things got bad. What do you mean? What's happened?
It's South Park, post-COVID, an exclusive event streaming Thanksgiving.
Nobody wants another one of your marijuana specials, Dad.
It's not a special. It's an exclusive event, only on Paramount Plus.
Ooh, South Park. I watched. Got to Paramount Plus. I had to got rid of my YouTube TV and went back to getting a few other channels cheaper, and I got the South Park post-COVID special. We had watched the COVID special, right? Or I can't remember what it was called.
The pandemic special.
Yeah. Where we learned how whoever's dad, was it Stan's dad or whose dad went over there and screwed a pangolin and started it. Well, this one, has anybody got to see this?
No, this one is exclusive
to
Paramount Plus. Right?
It's exclusive.
Yeah, I don't truck with that.
Yeah. Well, this one is it starts like it's in the future, like they're grown up and they have to get back together because it's, you know, because of COVID or something. I don't know, but it's set in the future is the main point, and so they're all grown up and it's funny, and like I won't spoil a bunch. I just wanted a couple funny things. Was Stan is with what you think is his wife, and then you realize it's just an advanced version of Alexa. And she's just a nagging person in his life. It's very funny. And he's just like, you know, he's like, Alexa, freeze the video. And she's just like, rolls her eyes and picks up the remote. That's the thing. Like, oh. So it was fun. It was a good quality South Park special. So when you get a chance to check it out, do. Oh, and tonight we Nick and I watched Pig. It's on Hulu. It's been getting some buzz. If I had a Nick Cage podcast, like friends of our pod, what's the name of their podcast?
Late Night Cage Fight.
Yeah, I would be just salivating at the chance to talk up this movie, Pig. He is a guy living in the woods with his pig, and it hunts truffles. That's like a thing pigs do, and they're able to locate the truffles, which are very expensive to sell, and you make a bunch of money on them. That's what he's doing. And I think from the previews you see that somebody stole his pig, and so I think the general consensus is, the vibe. I know the vibe I had is this going to be John Wick with pig. Like what with Nick Cage, and he makes so many movies, and some of them are so like you would never watch. He can be all over the place.
Somebody would.
Yeah.
Somebody making a podcast.
Somebody, but it's just like you never know what you're gonna get. This is good, Nick Cage. Like this is, I don't even know how he makes some of these other movies. You'll look at him and be like, this is terrible. He's not even good in this. This is him good. And it is not what you think it is. It feels like it is going to be, but it is not. You will not. It is not. I can't say it. I don't want to spoil it. It's not what you think it is. It kind of feels like it is for a while, but it's not. But it's good, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I recommend Pig. We liked it.
You watched that on HBO?
No. We skipped to Paramount Plus, and then we went over to Hulu.
Okay, Hulu. Oh, I realized.
Now we're going to make the jump to Netflix.
Oh, man. It's so funny because a couple episodes ago, we put out, our catch-up on Riverdale, into Season 5, and we were talking about the Next to Normal, the musical episode this year. Mm-hmm. And when we put that episode out, on my Facebook page, I always share the episode, and then I usually I'll put it up on like my Facebook story, right? And if it's a musical, sometimes if you click on the little music button on your story, you can search for a song, and sometimes with Riverdale, sometimes those songs will pop up. So I had done that when we put that episode out, and I had a family member that sent me a message real quick, who apparently has never watched Riverdale, of course. And my cousin's oldest son, David, that, we're close with, and I've done some podcasting with, and we recently just met up with them in Disney World a month ago. And he was like, "Oh, I didn't realize Riverdale was a musical show." And I was like, well, it's not, but
it wants to be.
Yeah, it wants to be. I'm like, well, they sprinkle it in a little bit here and there, and then one episode a season they do a musical episode, and so we got into that, and he's like, yeah, hey, we just watched Tick Tick Boom, and him and his wife Amanda, their background is musical theater. That is just, they love it. They have been involved. Well, Amanda's still involved with it. She's involved with the theater, local theater down in Jacksonville. That is a pretty big deal. That's her full-time job. She, she's been involved with bringing the Hamilton traveling show through her production through her theater, and to go see a lot of cool things. And David's done some acting too. And that's how they met. But he was just like, man, it was so good. We didn't know anything about it going into it. We were both just enthralled and impressed with it, and just, was like, this thing is great. And he was recommending it to me. So I was like, well, I got to sit down and watch it. So I took yesterday, and because it's pretty long, had the day off, and I was like, well, I need to watch this. So we sat down and yesterday it was really yesterday morning and into the afternoon, and checked it out, and I was just so impressed with it. I remembered seeing the trailer about it, and we talked about it briefly.
This is the life of Bo 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 Bo. This is the life of Bo 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 Bo. This is the life of Bo 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 Bo. Bohemia. Bohemia.
Lately, I've been hearing this sound. Like a tick, tick, tick. Like a time bomb.
Check.
Hey, boy genius.
The fuse has been lit. The clock counts down the seconds.
It sounds great.
Do you know how many Jonathan Larsons there are?
One. The flame gets closer and closer and closer until all at once everything explodes.
That coming out and West Side Story coming out, I think it was something preview or something of the new movies headed our way this year. But this was just, he was absolutely spot on, enthralling. The music was great. It was a little hard for me to kind of follow the story at first, because it's
a cluster, because they're going what really happened.
Right. It's an auto.
And he's like, he's like performing a play
about
a one-man show or whatever about making his first play,
a different play,
which was about something else.
Yeah.
And
but
it's nuts.
It's really what it comes down to. It's Jonathan Larson, who wrote Rent, as well as Tick Tick Boom and some other, but this is about him as that time period in New York, just about to turn 30, and at the end of your youth or whatever, and trying to make it big before that happens, and
before you run out of time, before the clock's ticking,
right? And just the struggling, the struggles just of theater actors and people trying to make it big at that point in time. Which,
the Kevin Keller story.
The Kevin Keller story. One day.
Bring it all back around.
Did you watch it, Jordan?
No.
You're not a music guy. That's right.
Yeah.
It was good. He was really good. Andrew Garfield did a really good job. He's such a likable guy anyway. And I think he was great.
Directed
the music
by
was
Lin-Manuel
Miranda.
Yeah. So a little history. I found out about this after I'd watched it, because then I was like, well, I need to know a little bit more about what I just watched. So apparently Lin-Manuel Miranda, Jonathan Larson is a major influence on him. He saw Rent on his 17th birthday, and the lady that actually, how this came about, the lady that that got the rights to Tick Tick Boom, the movie rights to it, had emailed him and said, hey, would you be interested in this? And he said, I watched an interview. He said, I've never written a faster email reply in my life. He's like, I have to do this. This is my thing. I want, to be involved. And then I saw a story. Now this may not be that truthful, but there is a story going around about, apparently Lin-Manuel Miranda had went to his regular massage therapist, and when this was getting ready to come together, and he knew that Andrew Garfield also went there, so he asked his massage therapist, hey, do you know Andrew Garfield? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, how's his singing voice? And the massage therapist, who had no idea, was just like, yeah, pretty good, I guess. Yeah, I hear he's really good. And he just went with it. And he's like, okay, that's good enough for me. It was totally insane how the casting started with that. Because he's not I don't think of Andrew Garfield as this huge singer.
Well, like I've said before, most of these actors, less now than they used to be, I guess, but you didn't even start. That's where you started, was you had to be able to sing.
Sing and dance, yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an old timey thing.
Because they were doing their high school shows and things. You had to be able to sing and dance.
And I think he's, I don't think he's a great singer, but he was good enough in this, and like the performance is great. Like he seems like he's really put everything into this role. Like even like when he's singing and dancing, I mean, like you can see like the veins in his neck coming out. I mean, like he is giving it his all in these performances. But the funny thing was, since I've been on Discover, since I've gotten on TikTok, it takes up way more of my time than it should.
That's TikTok boom.
Yeah, TikTok. So anyways, the last couple weeks I've been hearing, how TikTok works. You hear these, there's some earworm of a nugget that comes out, and then everybody uses that sound in every video. They just duplicate it. And it's always, sometimes it's really obscure stuff, but I've been hearing this like song for a week or so that I've just like got into my brain, and I needed to like scratch that itch. Like, what is the sound? And I watched this movie, and it's freaking Boho Days from this movie. And I was just like, this song is like in my head now, and I can't get it out. It's been a week, even before I watched the movie, it's been a week and a half. I'm just like, oh, it's so catchy. But that was probably my favorite part of the movie, was the scene in his apartment. Ironically, Jonathan Larson was scared at this, 1989 or whatever, was scared of his apartment burning down. So he had taken a camcorder and documented everything he had in his apartment, all his possessions. And that's how they duplicated that, what was in that apartment for this movie, down to like the albums, the cassette tapes, the books he had on the shelf, because of this footage they found that he had made. So I thought that was kind of interesting, little details in there, but yeah, I thought it was great. It had Lin-Manuel Miranda does such a good job of spreading his love of Broadway. I feel like Broadway has made such a big, or maybe I just wasn't aware. I don't know, but it's in the last few years since he's come on the scene, and there's a scene in a diner where he just, throughout the movies, there's a lot of cameos, but the scene in the diner where he just has this epic song number of all these Broadway legends in one scene that are just getting
that if you aren't somebody in the scene, it doesn't mean anything to you, but people that do know all these people, it's an Easter egg. That's a classic Easter egg, because what it is, because like I wouldn't know who half these people are, so that means nothing to me. But somebody that does is going to be like, oh, it's that person and that person and that person. Like, so that's what the way it should work. It's no surprise that Miranda is into this guy, because he did what that guy did. Absolutely. He made Broadway huge now, bigger than it had been for a while, and that's what Larson did.
That's what Larson did with
Rent caused this scene to blow up.
Yep.
It was such a popular musical, and I'm sure most people would know like the irony of him doing Tick Tick Boom and having this feeling this pressure to accomplish something, because he felt like he's running out of time, which it's ridiculous, because he's thinking he's turning 30. Well, he might as well, that's it. If I haven't done something by then, but really he's racing against this clock, and ends up the night of his first preview for Rent, he dies of a brain aneurysm. Yep. Never got to see the success he worked on for a decade at least, and so it's just such a sad story.
Yeah.
Now he reaps all the benefits from that he never got to see. So that's sad. But I liked Bradley Whitford. I thought it was crazy that he was Stephen Sondheim, did a really great job, and then the same week Stephen Sondheim dies.
Yeah.
Like, that was nuts.
Yeah.
Like, did you just decide to? Well, while I'm, this would be a great time to die.
That's what I heard. That the Stephen Sondheim actually recorded There's apparently he leaves a message on a phone at some point.
Yeah.
Where Bradley Whitford is playing him, but they had the actual Stephen Sondheim.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know that. That's neat. But yeah, that was a big surprise. But yeah, I did enjoy it. I thought it was good stuff.
And it said he rewrote the dialogue for the call because I would never say that.
Yeah, it's really been it's been a great year, of course, for Lin-Manuel Miranda with this, his first directorial movie with this project. But then, we talked about In the Heights being so great. That was his Rent. That was his first big, huge hit. And I have really enjoyed these movies this year. We've watched In the Heights several times. We listen to the soundtrack all the time. I'm pretty sure that this one will be added to the list. Like I said, that Boho Day song is just, once it gets in your head, you can't get rid of it. And with West Side Story coming out pretty soon, I did see that preview in theaters a few weeks ago. I didn't mention it with Ghostbusters, and so yeah, that looks good too. So I think I don't know. I don't think it's a flash in the pan that these musicals are coming back in such a big way. On the screen, I think we're going to see a lot more of them. They're just going to break in more money.
Yeah. Another thing on Netflix, I watched The Power of the Dog, Jane Campion Western. First thing I was like, oh, it's a Western. We just did our Westerns list. This better not be good.
This is an art house Western.
Yeah.
Speaking of South Park, South Park would have described it in 1998. South Park would have described this as gay cowboys eating pudding.
Well, okay. Anyway, this was. Did you watch this?
Yeah.
It was good. I thought this was probably the best thing I'd ever seen Benedict Cumberbatch do. Like he's actually acting in this. I was really impressed with him, and it had what Jesse Plemons and what's her name, Kirsten Dunst. And this must have been probably the movie they met in. Now they're married, or maybe not. Maybe they just happened to both get cast after they were together. But they've worked together before a couple times. Oh, didn't they meet in Fargo? That was what they met. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, they were both good in it. Cody Smith McPhee played her son in it, and I can't remember whether there was anyone else to speak of that in it. But
like Keith Carradine, and there's a couple smaller roles, but those were the four main ones.
But I thought it was really good. I thought it was a good movie. It was very gorgeous. The scenery, the vistas, and all well shot. I mean, I thought it was a really good, just immersive movie. I don't know if a lot of people are over the moon about it, and I'm not there, but I did like where it went, and how it ended. I thought it was definitely worth watching. I don't want to spoil anything on it for it, so I don't know what to say about it, but I thought it was good.
Yeah, I like the setting being later in the time. It was like 1925, so there's cars and.
But he's stuck in the modern. He is so stuck in the past.
Yeah.
That his character.
Or just idealizing that. Yeah. And I like it's you see a ranch and you expect cheap wood falling apart. Like they live in a huge house and he wears big fur coats. Like it's just a different take.
Oh, they're loaded.
I'm used to seeing in the Western.
Yeah, they're definitely rich. He's a rich cowboy. Doesn't need to be doing all the ranching he's doing. He just wants to.
Yeah, I liked all the acting. I had a little trouble getting into it. Like I was having a hard time understanding what he was saying at parts. Like it's kind of mumbly.
Oh, I read a great article yesterday about that. Ben Pearson put out that he had been researching for a while, and it turns out we're not all going deaf. The sound mixing is horrible now in movies, and everybody's turning subtitles on because you can't understand what anybody's saying.
Yeah, so. I missed quite a bit in this movie, I'm sure. And it wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't obvious, but then I feel like by the end, it got very obvious, and they explained some things I felt like didn't need explained, like that were nicely set up and executed, and then they have a doctor come in and explain, here's what happened. It's like, why are you even in this movie? Stop explaining this to me.
Right. Yeah. I get you. I like I went back and kind of started over to kind of catch some of the beginning. And there's the first line of the movie I did not catch the first time I watched it. So you might just start it over for a second and listen to the first voiceover.
Something about Bronco Henry?
No, it's a very foreshadowing line. Anyway, that was good. It was good, worth watching. I've the last couple of days I've watched some stuff that actually
not a rip roaring gun-toting western. Definitely a
pleasant Hitchcockian western kind of, what pudding eating. I saw French Dispatch. Oh. I did get to see that. Yeah, Nick and I when we went to Columbus to IKEA. We stopped at the theater. So it was like such a great experience. Yeah, I think that was the day, Cliff, you were watching something and complaining about you're like, the stuff was falling down around the screen or whatever. Meanwhile, I was sitting in like the cushiest seat in this AMC with looking at, what a great screen, huge and right level with me, and everything was just perfection. I was just grinning from ear to ear. Finally, great experience. There was no one around us.
You go to Easton?
Yeah. But it was just, there wasn't hardly anybody in there. It was like early in the day on a weekday. We're watching freaking French Dispatch, which is just, I love Wes Anderson, and this is a very Wes Anderson movie. And no matter how anybody wants to complain about that, as if that isn't what you want Wes Anderson to do, I don't know what everybody's problem is all of a sudden saying, oh, so-and-so's doing so-and-so. Oh, well, this Guillermo del Toro movie coming out looks really Guillermo del Toro. Well, that's what they do. I want them to do what they're good at. And French Dispatch is a meticulous, exactly what he does, and he does it well, and it was really good, and you're gonna enjoy it. I thought it was great. Just like 4 short stories centered around 4 or 5 centered around the this newspaper that has kind of a middle story there with Bill Murray as the editor at this newspaper, and he's giving them out stories to do or taking in the stories they brought in, and there's like one really short one and a few longer ones, and it's good. It's really good. One of them was slightly weaker. The Timothy Chalamet and Frances McDormand, that was probably my least favorite, but the other ones were all great, and I just really enjoyed it. So, that's not my favorite one of his, but it was definitely not a fail. It was a solid Wes Anderson.
It's funny you mentioned AMC. Complete rumors, don't know
what's Disney
nothing
doing
has
now.
happened, but I have heard some speculation about Disney possibly buying out AMC theaters next. So we got the theme parks, we got the movie studios, we got the TV networks. We might as well buy the theater now too. So
buy the theater and put their movies in there.
Yep.
And that's how it's going to be.
No more Wes Anderson movies. Goodbye.
All Disney all the time. That's all we get.
AMD theaters.
Yeah. Great.
Just speculation, but I have heard that from, a couple different places that, that might be something that's on their radar.
Great.
Cliff,
Anybody?
Did you get out to see Eternals?
Yes.
Okay. We've
that's
talked about
actually,
it all 3 different episodes. We'll talk about Eternals.
Yeah, I wasn't going to, but yeah, that's actually what we went to see on that same day. Yeah, because
curious as the least Marvel fanboy of the group, what your take was on that?
Yeah, it was long.
Yes.
But Alicia and I went and saw it, and we both liked it. It was very Justice League kind of in the feels. And that part of that might have been, some of the power sets, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was fine. And like we talked about before, this is kind of the, a little bit, I felt like deconstructing that superhero genre that we talked about. But, and yeah, I mean, I thought for having some superstars and some not superstars in it, I thought they were all fine as far as performance went. It was kind of hard to keep track of people a little bit, not being very familiar with each character. I would have liked to seen a little bit more Ka-Pow in general in the movie.
Well, they just like, he's just not going to be there at the end.
Yeah, I know. Just like, well, I kind of feel like the same way this guy is, so I'm going to leave. I was just like, and I kept waiting on him to come back.
Yeah.
Which he never did.
Yeah, no.
So,
no.
So yeah, out of the characters, he was kind of like, I was like, oh, I like this guy, but then I was just like, what happened to that guy? So,
he just ran out of finger guns.
Yeah. It was funny. We stayed for the after credit scene, even though I knew, but Alicia and Carly, didn't. And the minute Harry Styles hits the screen, my daughter's, she's, I think there were 2 other people in the theater, and she's like, what is happening right now? And I was like, what? She goes, what? I don't understand this. What is happening right now? And I was like,
your life is getting better.
Not that, and she's not a big Harry Styles fan at all, but it was just somebody she knew.
Yeah.
That was very.
She did not associate with Marvel, right? Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. She goes, "This is a Marvel. Why is Harry Styles in a Marvel movie?"
He seemed. I think that is really great casting, though. Like, if you're gonna put him in as anything, that I could see him being able to pull off this role of, I don't even think it's any big spoiler to even say it. Eros,
right?
Fire, Star Fox. Yeah, I was like, man, that was just such a funny character when he joined the Avengers and was just like wooing everybody, trying to take all their women.
So, yeah,
I didn't know who he was. I had to be
told
that was Harry Styles. I'm old. I'm very, very old.
Yeah.
So that she was very surprised and in a really good way. She was happy about it. She was just like, oh, this is exciting. So,
all the girls went Harry Styles, and all the guys went Star Fox.
Right. So that was pretty much our experience with it. It was fine. We all liked it good enough.
Yep.
But we weren't blown away by it. So,
but there were also references to DC Comics.
Yeah.
And Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So Star Wars and DC exist in the MCU now officially.
Right.
As fiction.
Right.
Well, I mean, technically, the whole, from the time they introduced Spider-Man into it, when he's talking about the Empire Strikes Back and all that. So.
Oh yeah, that wouldn't be our first Star Wars show.
Yeah. So, but. Yeah, I thought there were some interesting things in it that, that were kind of new concepts for a Marvel movie, but Yeah, sure.
It was good. Like I said, good enough.
I think it's going to be interesting what, because we're going to get more of this stuff. I think as we, however long these Marvel movies continue to make money and be produced, we're going to get some stuff that's out there. But if you remember, we all thought Guardians of the Galaxy was, that was, why would they waste money making Guardians of the Galaxy? So,
this was no Guardians of the Galaxy.
No. This was no Guardians, but
I agree with you're saying. The source material, you're like, I don't see this as being a hit.
Yeah,
but it did not. It ain't hitting like Guardians of the Galaxy.
No. Just great. The general, like, who are
what
these
about
guys?
This would not be a huge hit on movie screen.
Yeah, just the general, public knowledge, or the idea that what Guardians, what, like, we want Spider-Man, so
yeah, I had a guy bring in a box of stuff this week he wanted to trade me for store credit.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't much in there good, but there was a few issues of Eternals from the original Jack Kirby runs. I'm like, I would like to read those, at least to know, give it a shot. It's not my usual cup of tea, but I know so little about the Eternals. I'd like to read them at least.
Oh yeah, I just like just even seeing the Cersei Black Knight dynamic, and all I can think of is as the Gathering, the leather jackets and Black Knight's, loving up on Cersei and I don't know, Crystal or somebody. It was just like, I can't believe I'll never get over the fact that these things are on the big screen. Like, can't believe it.
Well, speaking of swords, the other big one that hit Netflix was Masters of the Universe Revelations Part 2, that I had been waiting on ever since I watched the first 5 all in one sitting.
I really enjoyed the first 5. Yeah, I remember we all did. We all liked the first 5.
Yeah, there was, if anybody does not remember, there was a lot of criticism that came out with the first 5 episodes of this thing. Just on everybody involved with the project, how they ruined their childhood, and this new thing was too woke, and how dare they this and how dare they that, and focus on Tila and all of that crap. Immediately, all that criticism, I heard none as soon as this came out, and just how much everybody all of a sudden loved it, which I was just like, okay. Like, you raise so much hell in these Facebook groups and online chat room or forums and stuff about how you hated it, and now suddenly everybody's silenced and we all love it. So that ticked me off a little bit.
I think they just wore themselves out. They cried themselves asleep.
Well,
I'm off to the next thing. I got something more to complain about.
Maybe. But I mean, it's definitely got a pretty solid, established fan base, for as much as they bitched and moaned about it, that before they saw the end of it, and what Kevin Smith or whoever, what the writers were the story they were trying to tell here. And I enjoyed part 2. I actually thought part 1 was probably better. But I did enjoy part 2. It did a really good job of.
There were some things that made me laugh out loud, like some lines that I was just like, that was a good joke. Like, there were some good jokes in there.
Yeah. They did a good job, and I felt like this thing, everybody, all the way through it, everybody got to have their own emotional arc, their own emotional journey, their story. Each character, the main characters, Evelyn and Tila and Adam, and even Skeletor. But yeah, part 2 picks up after Skeletor wins. He has the power. He's the master of the universe, and everything he ever wanted. And then we have to deal with that.
It's just a joke of like, I just like Evelyn's like, that's what you want. This is what you want that for. Like,
after all these years of
just just the deconstruction, I guess, of them to point out the dumb things from the original, like the motivations. Yeah. They elevate everybody's story. They take this property of toys and really flesh out each individual story, put them all back together.
Yeah.
With this, pretty animation.
All the animations.
Much more, but just a much better story than anything you got in the cartoons back in the day. It's like, can you imagine having this back then?
Oh,
how even bigger Masters of the Universe would have been. Like you would have watched these as much as you watched the other ones. You'd have watched these 20 times more because these are actually like, these stories make sense and they're so much deeper and stuff. Like I'm really impressed by all these. I feel
like that's an impossible thought though. Of like anything like this needs a generation.
Yeah.
Again, stretching back to comics, like the people who made the first comics didn't care. They were on a deadline. They were pumping out junk for children. They weren't trying to make art. But the people who grew up reading them, treasured them and wanted to do so. I feel like, again, Kevin Smith is a perfect example of I can make more out of this. It means something to me. So I feel like that requires a passion and not just a paycheck.
It needs to have had the lows to see the highs. You have to have that comparison. But just I'm not a Masters of the Universe fan. I was never a master.
You were too old.
I was too old for it. And that, so the fact that I can watch this and get so much out of it, seeing that changed into this is effective on me. Seeing them take the ship looks exactly like the toy, they're gonna fly around in this toy ship.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that is ridiculous and awesome that they're doing this.
And
it's so serious.
That was really I got the this is made for me moment there.
Oh, it is.
And especially with part 2, because I forget that this was a toy line, that they made a cartoon show a year later that came out a year later that was strictly meant to help sell the toys, and it was silly, but it was colorful and, big muscle men and magic and all that stuff that, is going to appeal to a little kid. And then at the end, of course, we had the lesson of the day, that so many 80s cartoons had at that time. Thanks, Ronald.
Had to pretend to be educational in some way.
Yeah. Thanks, Ronald Reagan, for that.
Yeah, so Nancy Reagan wouldn't crack down.
Right. But
Nancy Reagan bust through the wall. What's going on?
The Berlin Wall. Yeah.
But going from that to this, 2 generations later or whatever, was pretty amazing. And then the scenes in Castle Grayskull, and there's a couple scenes, there's the throne room and with the rug and the dungeon sticker, with Duncan, and it's got the monster coming out from the floor. That all of that stuff, I was just like, oh, you got to be kidding me! I can't believe they did that. Because I just felt like that is for me. I've got a Castle Grayskull, sitting right to my left here, up here on the shelf, that has all that stuff. Still has the stickers on it. And I just absolutely loved it. We got to see, again, some characters that came later in the line. A little bit more with Scareglow and even some of those shadow beasts, and then, to spoil it if you haven't watched it, but the ending hinting, of what's coming. Throwing it back to what was the mother, the what did they call it? They didn't call it a mother box. They called it
It was Motherboard. She made us do her bidding.
The bird with the Triclops in the cult, assimilating Skeletor. But anyways, it's the Horde. Guys, seeing that Horde symbol show up, it's like, oh my God, are we going to get... I had no idea. I'm like, you have to do season 2 now. We have to have the Horde. We have to have Hordak. Let's get She-Ra in here. Let's do it. Like, come on.
Do it. Do it. This makes... When I watch this makes me want somebody to do just this quality to G.I. Joe or the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon, like to do it to this level, to amplify it up to a serious-ish yet still jokey level. This is like I really feel it's like the perfect melding of humor and taking it seriously. Like they just did a fantastic job at being able to do both things.
This show feels like it was made generally by somebody that loves the property.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of times we don't get that. We didn't get it the first time, but even on these, when they do reboots, it's often just trying to like, let's see if we can get some money out of this. And yeah, we know there's another G.I. Joe series in the works. But
G.I. Joe.
I know where that came from.
Oy vey. Oy Joe.
Wow.
But yeah, we know there's another G.I. Joe series coming our way that's been announced. So hopefully whoever is doing that, handles it the same way.
Anyway, I watched a cartoon on Netflix also that I liked even more than this. And we've watched so many animated things lately with different animation. We had the Bad Batch and this. Mm-hmm. And what else were we watching recently that had a different anime? Oh, just the Marvel stuff, the What If series.
Yeah, the What If.
Had even a different animation. And I've enjoyed all of them. But this show on Netflix is called Arcane League of Legends. And it's based on a video game, which you need to have. You don't need any knowledge of that video game. I've never played that video game. I know nothing about that video game. And you do not need to. It's totally unnecessary. It just apparently is based somewhat on that.
I'd like to let you in on a very important secret. Power comes to those who will do anything to achieve it. It's time to let the monster out.
Haley Steinfeld voices the main character, and they must have been working on this for years. It's like 9 episodes, but the animation and direction is so good. Like, there are some sequences that I'm just so impressed by. It is so taken so seriously, and the story is so good. The acting is so good. The animation is so good. Like, it is great. It is really great. Like, there's enough episodes that it tells such a overarching story of these two sisters, their relationship, and just them dealing with the overall the politics in this city, the different rich versus poor, and good and evil and all that jazz that comes along with that. But I was really impressed with it. And if you were a fan of animation, I'm not even an enormous fan. I'm getting more and more appreciating it. But it's definitely worth the soundtrack. There's a lot of Imagine Dragons involvement in here. They do it, but I'm not the biggest fan of them, but it works in this. The vibe they have of like just very upbeat, actiony sound, and the score is really good along with that. It's good. Yeah. It's definitely worth checking out.
Animation has really, of course, we've been on computer animation for decades now, but just they can take it now, and because I love that 80s Saturday morning look. Yeah. But now they're able to, with so many of these shows, to take that and do so many different things with it that we couldn't do before, or they didn't have, it was too expensive to do, at that time. And just some of these shots, I watch these shows and I'm just like, man, it's like watching a freaking movie. It's amazing what they do, and some of the angles they come up with, and the way the perspective can change now. So it's good stuff.
That's my out of nowhere pick to watch right now. I don't think necessarily many people are watching, but it's good. I finished it in a couple days. I was enjoying it. Anybody got anything else?
I feel like that was a lot.
It is a lot. The last thing I will bring up then, did anyone see or hear, I don't know how you could have not heard, there's like 150 million downloads of this. But I don't know if you've ever heard of, I'm even sure I'm saying his name right. Mr. Beast, is that his name?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where the guy's just like,
his YouTube channel.
Makes all his money off YouTube, but he gives a ton of it away, which continues to get people to watch. And so he's like, it's a great idea. Give a bunch of the money away and keep a bunch of money too. And you're rich, and people like to get money. But he did this Squid Game thing. And did either of you check that out?
I just heard about it, but I didn't see any of it.
Well, I watched it right before.
How much money do we have for a Squid Game, guys?
Yeah.
What can we do?
We got about $8.
We buy a bag of marbles.
Yeah. This is totally a...
Bring your own sweatsuit. We'll supply the marbles.
Yeah. This guy, like, the production quality is as good or better than the actual show, Squid Game. Like, he recreated everything and just brought in 456 people and said, whoever is the last one standing gets $456,000. And I mean, tell me you didn't get the point of Squid Game without telling me you didn't get the point of Squid Game. And he just like, but it was really a really fun one. If you watch Squid Game, you should watch this. It's 25 minutes. Watch 100 people really play Squid Game, only they're not worried about dying.
Yeah.
That's if it was like YouTube personalities murdering each other.
Yeah.
Or there was only one left at the end. That might get me more interested.
There is some interesting twists on it in the fact
and subscribe.
Yeah. They like have bullet squibs on them. So if somebody gets eliminated and should get shot, it like blows up on them. Like they play they just cut a lot of the stuff out of Squid Game that I did not like the just nothing for a couple episodes they do. It's just the competitions, and like they do the red light, green light, and they do the cookies. Only like they take into account that people saw Squid Game, so they can't go pick that shape. Nobody's gonna pick the umbrella, so it's just you don't know which line you're getting in, and then they reveal what line you got in. And I think the neatest twist was when it got to marbles and you pair off, and the tension of that, one lives, one dies. There's not going to be any tension with a bunch of strangers. but they just had been videotaping them the whole time. And by the time they got to that game, they knew who your friend was. So that's who you're paired up with. And it was good. It was a good time to watch it. It's not long, and it if you've seen Squid Game, you will enjoy watching this. So it was funny and neat to watch people get. I like to see people win money. So like some guy actually got some money, or some girl got this money, or whatever. There's money given out throughout. At one point, they needed to thin the herd. We're just like, we'll give you $4,000 if you just leave now. We'll see you later. Anyway.
Okay.
It's Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
I'd never watched. That's the only thing I've ever watched of his.
I used to work with a guy that watched him all the time and would like.
I could see you getting sucked into that channel if you're like,
yeah,
like watching people get money.
Yeah, he talked about it a lot. But yeah, speaking of YouTube, I've mentioned before, one of the regular channels I watch a lot of is the vlogger. He's Adam the Woo. He's been around. He's had a YouTube channel for over a decade now. Starting out, he went on adventures. He lived in a van, traveled the country.
Down by the river?
Yeah, before it was popular.
I feel like I know what you're going to say. I've watched one Adam the Woo video ever, and my God, was it the wrong one?
Yeah, they're not all treasures, but
okay. Well, I watched one a few weeks ago where he was like declaring he was not doing it anymore. He was just gonna go to the parks without the cameras from now on, except for this time. Do it this time.
Yeah,
he would not stop saying that over and over and over. And I was like, man, you're like everybody that leaves Twitter. I'm leaving Twitter.
Yeah.
I got to tell everybody. And he was just like I think he said like 100 times in that video that he wasn't going to be taping himself going to the parks anymore as much or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is really stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he I know exactly the video you're talking about, but he has moved from Southern California, and he's officially on the road back to going across America in a car and just stopping and taking back roads and doing all that stuff again, roadside stops and things like that. So he's on his way to Florida, but yeah, he's declared he's not going to do any more Disney parks, at least for a good while.
I did like his point of saying when he started, he was one of the only ones doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now Cliff's doing it.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Everybody's
doing it, and probably better. So
yeah, he's like, I don't do it. He's like, I was one of the only ones doing it, and it didn't matter how good it was. Everybody was watching it because there's only a few of us doing it. He's like, now everybody's doing it, and they're better than I am.
Yeah, so he's been about a week now. He's been on the road again, and there's been a couple that are okay, or pretty good. Like I said, they're not all gems. Because he is very much just a regular guy. He does. I mean, obviously he makes some money off it. He's made his money off of YouTube enough to where he's got Disney DVC points or Disney Vacation Club and doing all that stuff now. But he had a place on the West Coast in Anaheim, where he was living part of the year, going to Disneyland. He had a place in Celebration, Florida, just a couple miles from Disney World, and he was really hardcore on the Disney stuff the last several years, and so he's back on the road now, and I'm looking forward. I'm hoping someday he's been to Point Pleasant and went to Mothman Festival a few times, done some videos there, so I'm hoping he'll start to get up into our neck of the woods a little bit and do some stuff in this part of the country. So anyways,
from the Sternwell Festival,
maybe, who knows?
All right,
Mazel tov, everybody, we did it. We hope you're having an amazing holiday season. We hope it's joyous and bright. Whether you're a GI Jew or a GI Gentile, we hope this is a wonderful time of year, whatever you're celebrating. And we'll be back soon with more. My name's Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. I'm not going to say any of my jokes.
No shalom forever.
You did it.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udownwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.